to our phonetics and phonology learning videos. In today's lessons, we are going to explore one of the most essential yet often overlooked areas of English phonetics, suprasegmental features, focusing on stress and intonations. And why are these topics important? Because even if you know every English sound perfectly, your speech can still be misunderstood if you don't control your stress and intonations. So, let's begin.
Stress refers to giving extra emphasis to one syllable compared to others. This emphasis can be heard through louder volume, higher pitch, longer duration. Think of stress as a spotlight. It highlights a specific syllable that your listener should pay attention to. For example, in the word teacher, the stress is on the first syllable, teacher. Stress matters because choosing the wrong syllable can change meaning. Lexical stress refers to stress within a single word, how a word is pronounced in the dictionary. English is a stress-timed language, meaning the timing of stressed syllables shapes the entire rhythm of speech. A change in stress can even change the word class or meaning. For example, record is a noun versus record is a verb. Present is a noun versus present is a verb. Misplacing stress can make you sound unclear or like you are saying a different word.
Now we're talking about multisyllabic words. Words with 3 or more syllables. Full patterns, but they can be tricky because stress often depends on the word origin. For the example, even is it from Latin, Greek, or French, whether the word is a noun, verb, or adjective, and certain suffixes. So the general tendency include words ending in shin with s, ik, it, and graphy. Usually stress the second to last syllable. For the example, education, geography. So the words ending in ate or eyes often stress the first syllable for nouns or adjective and the second syllable for verbs. Okay, for the example, we have delicate. It's adjective. And delicate, it's verb.
Stress placement refers to the way stress is distributed across syllables and word or sentence. For example, in the word banana, the stress falls on the second syllable, which is na, and in the word music, the first syllable, which is mu, has stress in it. Stress placement is also important because it can change word class. Okay, for example, in the word decrease, as a noun, decrease, the stress falls on the de, which is the first syllable. And in the word decrease is a verb, and the stress falls on the second syllable. So usually for a noun, the stress falls on the first syllable, and for verb, another example is stress the word falls record. On the second syllable. Record is a noun, so the stress falls on the re, which is the first syllable. And as a verb, record, the stress falls on the second syllable, cord, because it is a verb. How to know which syllable or word is stressed. So the first way is to listen for physical cues. The stressed syllable or word can sound longer, louder, higher in pitch, and the vowel sound is clearer. For example, in the word photograph, photograph, we can hear more emphasis in the word pho, so the stress falls on the syllable pho. So the second way is to consider the type of unit. In words, stress falls on the syllable, but in collocations and compounds, the stress falls on the word. For example, in collocations, make a decision, the stress falls on decision. Another example for a compound, bookstore, bookstore. The stress is on the word book. Greenhouse, greenhouse. The stress falls on the word green. The last way, which is the easiest way, is to check at the IPA transcription. So IPA transcription shows stress with a small mark. Upper tick means primary stress and lower tick means secondary stress before the stress syllables. So, for example, the word application. Application, we can see that before the syllable A, there is this lower tick, which means secondary stress falls on the syllable A, and upper tick before the syllable K. So, the primary stress falls on the falls on the syllable K. Metrical grid is a tool used to formalize the stress pattern of words, word collocation, and phrases. So, in the word application, as we mentioned before, that the primary stress falls on the K and the secondary stress falls on the app. Okay, so there are three rows in metrical grid. The first row is for the baseline, which is for all syllables, and second line is for secondary stress, and the highest line is for primary stress. So the higher the mark is, the higher the stress is. So for the word application, we put this 3 marks in all 3 rows because it has primary stress, which is the highest stress in the word, and for the syllable app, we put the mark on the secondary stress and also the baseline.
Rafina. So now we are gonna talk about intonation. Do you know what intonation is? Intonation is the rise and fall of pitch across phrases and sentences. While stress highlights individual syllables, intonation shapes the melody of speech. And as you know, intonation helps you to convey attitude, emotion, intentions, whether it's a question or sentence distinctions, or helps you to emphasis. Without proper intonations, speech may sound monotone or ambiguous. And as I said before, intonation helps us to convey our tone or attitude when we talk. You can compare when I said, "You know who he is," and "You know who he is." It sounds different, right? Yeah, that's how we use intonation in our daily life. And now we're gonna talk about intonation functions. The functions of intonations. Intonation performs several key functions in English. First, we have grammatical functions. It helps you to distinguish sentence types. For the example, we have the rise of tones. From the rising tone, we can know the speaker intentions in speaking. It's a yes or no questions or something. And the falling tone, we have statement or VH questions. Second, we have attitudinal functions. It helps you to express emotions or attitudes to your listener. For the example, the same sentence really can sound excited, thoughtful, or annoyed depending on the intonations. The third, the discourse functions. It helps you to organize the message for the listener. Pauses and pitch change mark new informations or signals that more is coming. And the fourth one, the accentual functions. Intonations highlights the most important informations. For the example, I wanted the red one versus I wanted the red one. Why is this important? Because intonation is deeply tied to meaning. A learner who uses incorrect intonations may appear rude, uninterested, or unclear.
Now let's talk about common intonation pattern in English. When we speak, our voice doesn't stay flat. It moves up and down, and those movements quietly tell people what it means. One of the most common patterns is falling intonation. This is when your voice goes down at the end. We usually use it for statement, WH questions, and comments. So when you ask something like, what is your name? It goes down naturally. And next is rising intonation. Here the voice goes up instead. This pattern is used for yes or no questions, unfinished thoughts, and so. For example, like, are you ready? It's asking, and then your voice rises. Then there's a fall rise intonation, which is a bit more subtle. The voice falls and then rises again, showing that we are unsure or trying to be polite. For example, we're using it for, well, I could go. The sentence sounds open-ended, like you are holding into something. Another pattern is the opposite of it, the rise fall intonations, where this one starts high and then drops, and it's usually used to show strong feelings or emphasis. For example, it's like, wow, that's amazing. You see the rise and the fall here. It is a helpful way to practice intonation is to focus on the sound first. Try humming the melody of a sentence without saying the words. Once the melody feels right, add the words afterward. Now let's move on into the contours or intonation contours. A contour is basically the shape your pitch makes as you speak instead of focusing on just the end of the sentence. Contours look at how your voice moves from start to finish. Some common contours include high rise, low rise, high fall, low fall, and fall rise. Each one adds meaning beyond the words themselves. For example, a high rise contour often shows surprise or disbelief. When someone say, really? And the pitch goes sharply up, it signals that reaction immediately. A fall rise contour can show hesitation or contrast in a sentence like, I like it, but it's expensive. Or, I like it, but it's expensive. The voice falls and then rises, showing mixed feelings. To really internalize them, listen carefully to native speakers, mimic their pitch movements, and record yourself speaking so you can compare and adjust. That's how intonation and contours work together to make English so natural and alive.
So, how is it? Do you enjoy learning with us? So, in conclusion, stress and intonations are not just pronunciation details, they are the rhythm and music of English. Mastering them will make your speech clearer, more natural, and more expressive. Remember, stress makes certain syllables stand out. Intonation shapes the melody of your message. With practice, you will speak English with confidence and control. So, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye.